In a previous video, we talked about the signs that you're about to get fired. If you haven't seen that video yet, a link is in the description. But what happens when your employer is more subtle about it, where they don't actually fire you, but they make your work life so miserable that you feel like you have no choice but to quit? Well, that's exactly what we're talking about today. The sneaky and sometimes not so sneaky signs that your employer is trying to push you out of your job. So let's get into it. All right, before we jump in, you know the drill. I'm an employment lawyer here in Seattle, Washington. However, this video is for informational purposes only and is not legal advice. Every situation is unique, so if you need real legal advice, you need to talk to a lawyer about your specific situation. Okay, let's get into it. So what does it actually mean to be pushed out? In the legal world, this can lead to a thing called constructive discharge. Think of it like this. Your employer doesn't hand you a pink slip, but they deliberately make your working conditions so awful, so intolerable, that any reasonable person in your shoes would feel like they had no choice but to resign. It's a firing in disguise. Now, why would a company do this? Well, a few reasons. They might be trying to weasel out of paying severance, they might be trying to block you from claiming unemployment benefits, or they might be trying to create a narrative that you chose to leave, hoping to dodge liability for wrongful termination. Because as the name implies, wrongful termination requires a termination. So if you quit, you weren't terminated, and you can't bring a wrongful termination claim in most circumstances. The first sign that you're being managed out is what I call the slow freeze out. This is where you start to feel more and more isolated at work. For example, you're suddenly not invited to key meetings that are directly related to your job. You find out you were left off an important email chain again. Your coworkers who might be picking up on cues from management suddenly become distant. The invitations to lunch or team discussions just stop coming. It's like you're being systematically unplugged from the information network and the social fabric of the team. This isolation makes it incredibly difficult to do your job and is often a deliberate tactic to make you feel unwanted. If you suddenly feel like you're working on an island, that is a huge red flag. Next up is a really nasty one, being set up to fail. This is when your employer starts engineering situations where it's nearly impossible for you to succeed. Maybe you're suddenly buried under an impossible workload with completely unrealistic deadlines, or you're given critical projects but stripped of the budget, resources, or authority you need to get them done. You might ask for help or information, and your requests are just ignored. This isn't about being given a tough challenge, it's about being put in a position where you are designed to fail. Then, when you inevitably struggle, management can point to your so-called poor performance as the reason for taking further action against you. It's all part of the campaign to justify getting you out. Another classic sign is what I call the demotion in disguise. Your job title and your pay might stay exactly the same, but your actual job gets significantly worse. For instance, you find your most important projects and responsibilities are quietly reassigned to other people. Suddenly, you're stuck doing menial, entry-level tasks that are way below your skill level. Your authority gets chipped away, and now you have to get approval for tiny things you used to handle on your own. And this is incredibly demoralizing. It's a power play by the company to devalue your contribution, hoping you'll get so frustrated that you start looking for a new job where your skills are actually respected. The next one is the nitpicker's notebook. If you've always been a solid employee and suddenly everything you do is wrong, pay close attention. This is the nitpicker's notebook sign, a sudden and massive increase in micromanagement and criticism. Tiny mistakes that nobody would have cared about before are now treated like a huge deal. Your work is constantly being second-guessed. Your boss is suddenly all over you, demanding constant updates. This isn't about constructive feedback, it's about creating a hostile atmosphere. It's designed to shatter your confidence and make you feel incompetent. When the criticism feels less about helping you improve and more about wearing you down emotionally, it's often a tactic to push you towards the exit. And the final sign can be the most direct. It's when your manager or HR starts making helpful suggestions that you should look for a new job. You might hear things like, you seem really stressed. Maybe this role isn't the right fit for you anymore. Or, have you thought about what's next in your career? There might be a better opportunity out there. They might even forward you job postings from other companies. While they frame it as a concern for your well-being, if it's combined with these other signs, it's a clear signal. They're telling you, not so subtly, that you don't have a future with the company and that they want you to leave. Okay, so what can you do if this is happening to you? First, document everything. I can't stress this enough. Keep a private log of every incident. Dates, times, what was said, who was there. Save copies of emails, weird performance feedback, anything that shows this pattern of behavior. This documentation is your power. Second, assess your situation. Is this a pattern? How bad is it? And be honest with yourself about the toll it's taking on your mental health. Sometimes the best move for you is to find a healthier work environment, and there is no shame in that either. Third, know your rights. If you believe you're being pushed out for an illegal reason, like discrimination based on your race, age, gender, disability, or because you reported something illegal, it's time to lawyer up. You should consult with an employment lawyer in your state to understand your specific legal options. So there you have it. Being pushed out of a job is a horrible experience, but now you know the signs. And if you think your boss is lying to you about something, watch my video about how to prove your employer is lying. I'll leave a link to that video somewhere up here. And if you were forced to quit your job here in Washington State because the working conditions became intolerable for an illegal reason, that's probably a constructive discharge, and my firm handles those cases, so feel free to reach out. If this video was helpful, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button and subscribe for more content that protects workers. Let me know in the comments what other topics you want me to cover. Remember, understanding these tactics is the first step toward protecting yourself. That's all for this week. See you next time.